Congress won't get Mueller report summary until at least Sunday. Mueller submitted the still-secret document on Friday evening, capping an investigation into whether President Donald Trump or those around him conspired in Russia's interference in the 2016 election that's riveted Washington and cast a cloud over Trump and his administration for almost 2 years. Barr, who was sworn in as Trump's second Attorney General about 5 weeks ago, said in a letter to Congress Friday that he may be able to provide lawmakers with the special counsel's principal conclusions as soon as this weekend. Carrie Kupek, a Justice Department spokeswoman, said earlier on Saturday that Barr was in his office in downtown Washington and was reviewing the report. Trump, who's repeatedly called Mueller's 22-month investigation a witch hunt, hasn't commented publicly and was spending Saturday at one of his Florida golf clubs. The president is in a good mood and has expressed satisfaction with how Barr has handled the probe's ending so far, even joking about what it would have been like if Jeff Sessions still ran the Justice Department, according to 2 people familiar with the matter. There were no instances in which Mueller was told not to take a specific action in his wide-ranging probe, Barr said in his letter. I remain committed to as much transparency as possible, and I will keep you informed as to the status of my review, Barr wrote. He added that the next steps are up to Attorney General Barr, and we look forward to the process taking its course, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said in a tweet. The White House has delivery of the report is only the beginning of a struggle between Barr, lawmakers, and the White House over how much of Mueller's findings and the evidence behind them will be disclosed to Congress and the public. That fight is likely. Democrats, including the PAC of 2020 presidential hopefuls, called for the Mueller report to Congress and the American public as soon as possible. Mueller didn't issue any final indictments before turning in his report, and no sealed indictments are pending, according to officials. That means the investigation is complete. It's concluded, the DOJ's Kupek told reporters on Friday. The president was on the phone with German Chancellor Angela Merkel at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida when the news broke that Mueller had finished his work, according to 2 people familiar with the matter. Representative Gerald Nadler, the House Judiciary Chairman, said in a tweet that we look forward to getting the full Mueller report and related materials. Transparency, the top Republican on the Judiciary panel, Representative Doug Collins, said in a statement, I fully expect the Justice Department to release the special counsel's report to this committee and to the public without delay and to the maximum extent permitted by law. Whatever Mueller found, the completion of his investigation is a turning point for Trump, whose presidency has been dogged by an inquiry he routinely rages against. Before wrapping up his probe, Mueller helped secure guilty pleas from 5 people involved in Trump's presidential campaign, including Paul Manafort, who was his campaign chairman, and Michael Flynn, who became his first national security advisor. Mueller has also. The special counsel will be concluding his service in the coming days, Peter Carr, Mueller's spokesman, said in a statement. A small number while Mueller never said a word publicly, he and his team of prosecutors used indictments to set out a vivid narrative. It told of hackers, but the full extent of what Mueller learned hasn't been revealed and may not be if he or Barr decide to withhold details that the special counsel didn't feel involved crimes he felt he could prosecute. Mueller's report could be politically disastrous for Trump if the special counsel says he uncovered evidence that would justify a congressional move to impeach the president, and it's sure to be claimed as vindication by the president if he doesn't. Even so, Trump isn't necessarily in the clear. He also faces, nor is it certain that others close to the president, including Trump Jr., who met with a Russian lawyer after being promised dirt on Clinton, are out of jeopardy. Other prosecutors. During Barr's confirmation hearing in February, he said Mueller's report would be confidential, while the report that goes public would be a report by the Attorney General. He suggested that, if you are not going to indict someone, then you don't stand up there and unload negative information about the person, he said. The Justice Department probably want to release the names of people that Mueller investigated but didn't charge. Material related, slideshow by Reuters. Ultimately, the Supreme Court may decide the fate of Mueller's findings. Trump and his lawyers, but congressional Democrats, who now control the House, say they want broad disclosure of Mueller's investigative work, citing the earlier success of Republicans in pressuring the Justice Department to release details they said showed anti-Trump bias in the FBI. They have talked of it is imperative for Mr. Barr to make the full report public and provide its underlying documentation and findings to Congress, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said in a joint statement. Attorney General Trump, who answered written questions from Mueller but never sat for an interview with him, told reporters on Wednesday that he wants the special counsel's report made public. Let it come out. Mueller, a former FBI director, was appointed in May 2017 to conduct one of the most consequential investigations in U.S. history. Beyond Russia's election, meddling which U.S. intelligence agencies found was aimed at hurting Clinton and ultimately at helping Trump win. Mueller has been probing possible collusion in the operation and whether Trump sought to obstruct justice. In particular, Mueller investigated Trump's efforts to get then FBI Director James Comey to drop an investigation into his first national security advisor, Michael Flynn. Mueller also Rosenstein appointed Mueller as special counsel days after Comey's firing. While Trump has often tweeted that no collusion with Russia has been found, Mueller's inquiry has resulted in indictments of figures including the president's longtime advisor Roger Stone. Rudy Giuliani, a lawyer for Trump, wrote on Twitter that very aggressive prosecutors brought no charges of collusion, and said that former Central Intelligence Agency Director John Brennan, a Trump critic who has accused the president of collusion, should apologize for a charge that was damaging to our country. Mueller indicted and convicted Manafort, Trump's former campaign chairman, for a series of financial crimes, and Manafort has been sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. He also secured. Mueller's investigation cost about $25 million from his appointment in May 2017 through September 2018, according to the latest figures, provided by the Justice Department in December. It's been a fast-paced project compared to other major investigations of sitting presidents. Independent count, the length and cost of that inquiry and Starr's public release of a report with sexually explicit details about Clinton's relations with Lewinsky, and in turn contributed to Congress letting the law authorizing independent counsels expire. Mueller was named it took almost 2 years for Special Counsel Patrick Fitzgerald to indict Scooter Libby, Vice President Dick Cheney's Chief of Staff, for lying to investigators and obstruction of justice in October 2005 in the investigation into the public outing of CIA officer Valerie E. Plame. Libby was convicted in 2007 of perjury and obstruction of justice. Trump pardoned Libby with assistance from Andrew Harris, Shannon Petty-Peace, Billy House, Stephen T. Dennis and Jennifer Jacobs.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,